Coming at you live here on week number 9 coming up. It's predictions time, folks. Here we go. Okay, as some people may have caught, JB, I do have to admonish you briefly here. Lightning has no E in it. Yep, I know. It's the Twitter world we live in. It doesn't autocorrect for us the way it should, but it happens. But we should admonish D3Football.com, and I think we are in our description. There is more than one Division III football podcast out there.
There's a couple. 2 or 3, actually. Yeah.
Yes.
Even our friend Matt Noonan does a pretty good job. He'll have his Football Friday coming out today, too, so give that a listen. Obviously more New England focused. We're East Region, and then we got ATN, and we can all get along. Come on.
Can we? You sure about this? I think you're
sometimes, maybe not. Yeah, I'm trying.
We got a lot to go through here. So why don't we start with our predictions, and we're going to go through the East Region rankings as they stand now for us and explain what's going on with that. And also go through can they clinch? 9 conferences talk about clinching or perhaps winning their conference if there's not a playoff bid on the line. We'll go through all that and anything else that comes our way in the next however minutes. So let's get ready here. We're going to start. We're going to ignore those tallies at the top of our screen, although that tally actually looks a little awkward as it is. I'll get rid of this, and that looks better. But let's get some music going here. And begin with the CCC. Endicott at Western New England. You won the coin toss. Do you want to go first or second?
I will defer.
I will take the ball. I will say that... Boy, I see why you deferred. You know what? Alec Coleman's clicking right now. And I know I'm making myself fodder already, right off the bat today for bulletin boards across Massachusetts. Western New England wins this one. 31-28. Go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna take the Gulls. I think just because I've seen Western New England in person. When Alec Coleman's on, he looks great. He was a little dinged up with the Stetson game, but Endicott their offense has just been on fire all season. And I think Joe Kowalski and company will have enough to win in the shootout. I think both teams might crack 40 here, Frank. So I'm going to say the Gulls hang on in like a 52-48 scoreboard torture.
And just so people realize, the rumors about Joey Moriello being traded to one of these teams from Salve Regina was actually a false rumor. Did not happen. Right. But if either team had
didn't make the waiver wire.
Yeah, but if that guy could have played for either one of these teams this week, that would be the difference maker. 5 touchdowns running again last week and another 200-plus yard performance. Incredible on the CCC end of the world. ECFC, Gallaudet at SUNY Maritime. Got a coin again? You're starting this one.
Yeah, I know. This is going to be a tough one, but I'm going to lean towards the Privateers, even though Gallaudet looked so awesome a couple weeks ago. There's something about SUNY. They seem to be riding the ship, throwing in the corny pun. But I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Maybe a few turnovers will decide it, but I'll take the Privateers 24-17.
I'm going to agree with you. 7-6, SUNY Maritime. Yes, I said 7-6. Plymouth State at Bridgewater State. I will start this one. Give it to the home team. Plymouth State's having trouble a little bit offensively right now, but their defense is showing up. But I think Bridgewater State's got the offense here to win this one. 21-10, Bridgewater State.
Yeah, I think Plymouth's only scored 1 touchdown in the last 2 weeks. The Bears are coming off the bye. They're still in the hunt for the MASCAC title. I'll take the Bears actually to win with a bigger spread. I'd say 35-17.
NUMAC, WPI at MIT. You start this one. Good luck to you.
Yeah, I think this is going to come down to Sam Casey and the MIT offense getting into some trouble with that defense of WPI. So I will take the Worcester Engineers to win this one. It'll be close at half, but I think they pull away late and take it, say, 35-21.
Can't wait to see how that looked on playback later. WPI wins this game. I agree with you. They played more consistent football and football more consistently. And what I mean by that is MIT's had some odd breaks along the way here. And WPI's just been chugging along, seems like all season long. I think, do they not have like a game in hand against most teams, or feels like that way at this point? Yeah. They're 7-0. They could go to 8-0. MIT. Do they have a couple games left? I would have to look back at this, but you get my point. It just seems like we've been talking about WPI every week and MIT intermittently throughout the season. So I'm going to say that WPI wins this game 38-24 in favor of WPI. It would help if I get the next game up on our list here, but I'm going to tell you right now that it's going to be the NESCAC game, and that's going to be Hamilton at Middlebury, and I'm going to say that Middlebury will win the conference with this game. Hamilton will challenge them. They've been playing well. They're 4-3 right now, if I remember correctly. But Middlebury just seems to be in a roll. They play beating the big teams. They know that they win, it's done. It is done if they win this game. 21-20. It's going to be a good close game, but Middlebury wins it. 21-20.
Yeah, I'll take the Panthers also. I think Will Jernigan, he's probably the NESCAC Offensive Player of the Year. He'll make enough plays to keep Kenny Gray and the Continentals at bay. I do think it'll be close going into the fourth quarter, but I will take Middlebury to win this one 35-28.
Montclair State of Rowan. This used to be the game of games. Used to be that defensive struggle game for the NJAC title and everything else back when, boy, how the luster has fallen off this game, and you start this one.
Well, I think as much as Rowan's offense has really looked good the last couple of weeks, I think Montclair's defense is really going to be the difference here. They probably should have beaten Wesley last week. Tough deal for them. But Jaquil Birch will make enough plays. It's going to be a low-scoring game, Frank. I think it's going to be like 17-14 in this one. But Montclair will prevail on the road in this one, I think.
I can't pick down the right side of Montclair to save my life this season. I just want everybody to know that. I think
you have had bad luck with the Red Hawks.
If I had gotten the 5 games I picked wrong probably with them, I'd probably be ahead of you this season since I'm down 4 right now, right?
Maybe, yeah.
Let's go Rowan. Rowan wins it. Sorry, Coach Palazzo. Rowan wins this 7-3. It's just the way
Hashtag keep pounding.
Yes, amen. Mac, Lebanon Valley at Stevenson. Stevenson seems to be back on a little bit of track right now. Coach Huddle and company know how to do that. They're very good at getting their team back on track when they need to. Stevenson wins this game 35-24.
Yeah, this is going to be another one of those Stevenson games where it's real low scoring in the first half, and then they just turn on the Jets and run away with it. So I'll take the Mustangs to win it, say 35-17.
And music restarts one more time as we go into the big ones. Here we go. Empire 8 we'll start with. This is not an automatic bid scenario for both teams, but only for Cortland. We'll talk about that in a moment. What is that all supposed to mean?
I'm trying to point at Cortland, at this thing above me. So it's I'm going the other way. You got this. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
So am I starting this one?
No, I'm starting this one. The cameras are horrible. Wait a minute. No, I started Stevenson. So it's your turn.
Yeah. So this is one of those things where I've been real torn about this game all week, because I feel like Brockport is playing better defensively and can do enough offensively to outscore Cortland. But Cortland's special teams keep scoring touchdowns every single week to keep them alive and help them win games. So I have a weird feeling that this could go a little wonky. But yeah, I'll take the Dragons with a special teams like punt block or pick six or some kind of crazy play is going to help them outlast a Brockport team, which I probably would have picked a second ago, but for some reason I'm feeling like
a second ago. What the hell changed?
Yeah, I came into this thing thinking that Brockport will win this game, and they probably maybe still will. But there's something about this Cortland special teams unit.
Commit.
Dragons, 35-31.
35-31. Freddie June's a freshman. He's a great freshman. I call him freshman phenom in my preview on ATN today. But the problem here is you've got a senior in Brett Segala who just got through a tough game against St. John Fisher, let's face it, and a special teams unit that, as you're saying, knows how to be a difference maker right now. Their defense is good enough to at least keep them in the ball game. There is a better defense out of the two, and it is Brockport's. They say defense wins championships, but when you have special teams and offense going for you, I think you can overcome it for one game. I'm going to give it to Cortland because I pointed out what Brett Segala told us and ETN last year mattered to them in terms of the indelible mark. Losing this game and the two others very close last season left on them. Cortland wins this 30-28. And another big game, Union at Ithaca. I have to pick Union, obviously. I mean, Will Bellamy and company had kind of their brain fart game, I guess, to lack of a better term, with the Buffalo State game. That was just kind of, as I called it, a pedestrian performance on Wednesday's host chat show. I think that Coach Spearman sort of reminded them Ithaca is this week, not last week's game, and so never do that again. But they've been looking at this game. You know they have. Ithaca, then RPI in Dutchman's shoes coming up in a little bit. I say Union has the horses to win this game, but they cannot fumble this game away. That has been a problem this season. Fumbles have not looked good on their numbers from what I could see. 9, I believe, they've lost this season, if I read that correctly. Union wins this. 17-14. I think the defenses will show up.
Yeah, my big question mark about this one is the health of Ike Erebor. I think he's a necessary component for Union to have a chance to win the game. He did not play against Buffalo State. I don't know if that's a precautionary thing or if he's actually out. We don't have IR reports at Division III level. But if he can get the run game going, I think the Dutchmen have a chance. But Frank, it's going to be the Bombers' 12th man, and I saw that firsthand when they played Hobart. 9 or 10 penalties that the Statesman got called on, half of which were legit, the other half. And so it's really going to be incumbent on the Dutchmen to hang in there and not lose their cool like Hobart did. I will take Ithaca to win this game. It's going to be more of a defensive battle than I think people realize. But I think the Bombers will have enough with maybe a little help to win this one, say 24-17.
We're going to have a bonus game here. Framingham State at Mass Maritime. This is one of those games that if Framingham State trips up, it makes everything a lot more open in the MassCAC. And it's possible to trip up against a team like Mass Maritime at Mass Maritime. Your call.
Yeah, I would have had a little more confidence in the Bucks if they didn't look, their offense was a little shaky last week against Plymouth State. So I'm going to take the Rams. I think their defense is clicking. Tons of sacks, tackles for loss. So Adam Wojcinski and company win this game late, kind of pulling away, I'd say 31-17.
Yeah, I think we're thinking the same way that at halftime it might be like a tie game or they might be down a few points, Framingham State, because they may have kind of that celebration feeling from last week's big win. But Framingham State will come through in the second half. I agree with you. A little bit closer probably than what you just said. 30-24 in favor of Framingham State. And that is Lightning predictions.
We agreed a lot on stuff this week, Frank.
What's that?
We agreed on most of our picks. So the main difference was the Endicott, WNE, Union Ithaca, and Montclair Rowan. So we'll see. It could be a 3-game swing, one way or another.
Well, I mean, we do agree on most games every week. That's
true. We do.
But then there's like those 3 or 4 every week that don't have the agreement. Now, JB, we're going to start here in our additional bonus stuff with for instance,
Bonus
rankings.
coverage.
Yes. These don't look much different than last week's rankings, let me tell you, because not much changed between last week and this week.
Nope.
Again, it considers strength of schedule and quality wins. First official regional rankings will be released in 1 week. However, the East RAC and the rest of the RACs, regional advisory committees, had done a set this week as kind of a practice round that has some import because they will start to use every piece of data they gathered from this week forward for subsequent rankings, etc. So that's why this week's that we will never see will matter. But let's assume that I'm right, and these are the 10 that they have in there, then these teams will have some, let's say for this week, import on next week's regionally ranked opponents numbers from what we understand. There is a look back to see who the regionally ranked opponents were the previous week as well. So here we go. Salisbury, 6-0. You would have arguments either way with them and Ithaca, but it's the quality wins right now for Salisbury. But as they said on the ATN podcast and others have said along the way, if the Ithaca-Cortland winner, when we get to week 11, if both are undefeated, would obviously have jumped or will jump Salisbury at some point. Okay, Salisbury's remaining schedule is not that great. And what do they have? William Patterson and TCNJ left after this week. And who are they even playing this week? I'm not remembering.
Yeah, their strength of schedule is just going to drop. I mean, where Salisbury will be buoyed is if Oshkosh is ranked somewhere in the West regional rankings around 5, 6. I mean, they have a big game this weekend, and they may fall off near the end of the season. So that help that Salisbury has that's buoying them will drop them. And if somehow Wesley gets tripped up somehow in the last couple of weeks too, that could also ding Salisbury's resume as well.
Well, Wesley's schedule though is gone. Both Wesley and Salisbury face the meat of their schedule. Really, I can't see either one of them tripping up at this point. But Ithaca and Cortland, right, we keep reminding people that if Ithaca and Cortland win this week, they clinch. And so all we're talking about at that point is order of ranking. That's it. If one of them trips up this weekend, or both, then they're going to be looking for a Pool C bid. And remember, they do play each other, so they both lose this weekend. Then the game in MetLife is basically for Pool C bid, we would think, because of how highly ranked they are right now.
Yeah, it's like an elimination game, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So somehow that game's going to have a really important effect on the East, the bracket that these teams are put in, and even at a national point of view with Pool C, if either one of them loses Saturday. Wesley, we did not account for the Franklin Pierce game when we did this originally. There it is now to show that they're 5-1 against D3 teams coming into this week. Delaware Valley, it seems to be inextricably linked to Wesley because of the 4 overtime loss being their only loss. Western New England, Union, Brockport, WPI seem to be a shuffle compared to what Greg Thomas did. But I will tell you that Western New England's strength of schedule is high enough to essentially, with the D3 perspective right now, jump Union. Okay, so the 6-1 doesn't matter as much as the 6-0 against D3. That only comes into play if they are so close together that they have to go to these other more minor criteria. You cannot ding Western New England for losing to a Division I FCS team. It's just the way it goes, folks. So they're 6-0 from the committee's point of view. They have a strength of schedule that is well in excess of Union's. So they would probably, I believe, be ahead of Union. Now, the question is, how do you deal with Brockport with that loss? And the answer, again, goes back to strength of schedule. WPI's strength of schedule is horrendous on paper. And so Brockport's strength of schedule pushes them up. If Hobart were on the board right now, Union and Brockport would be affected, and where their placements are would be affected because they've both played them. Union beat them. Brockport did not. And so that would be a game changer if Hobart ever ends up ranked. We'll see how they end up playing for the next couple of weeks to see if that ends up happening. But the other thing to point out is we have 3 games this weekend between teams that we believe will be ranked this week or that are ranked this week. Ithaca Cortland, or Ithaca and Cortland are both playing ranked teams. Ithaca against Union, Cortland against Brockport. Then we have Western New England against Endicott, who's in the 10th position. Next week, these rankings will be remarkably different. Not just because strength of schedule changes happen, but regionally ranked opponents will be added, losses will be added, wins will be added. This is kind of like a mishmash waiting to happen. We do it because we kind of want to know where we stand right now heading into a week like this and what could effectively happen. But this is part of the reason why the NCAA only releases 2 intermediate regional rankings now, because this week's will be so meaningless by next week, it's not even funny. And that's the way it goes.
Yep. And the one thing that I'm that I'm kind of interested in, Frank, is seeing too, when you look at the overarching national picture, is I think the one team that has to worry about an East region taking away their 1 seed is St. John's. They have a great number right now. I think it's like a 597 strength of schedule, but the next 2 weeks' opponents will probably bring that down a little bit. Whereas like you said, if Cortland and Ithaca keep moving on up, their numbers are going to improve. They'll move up in the rankings. So this is a situation that I kind of talked about last week, that if there was going to be an East regional pod, that it could end up being that winner of that Cortica game if they both go into that session with undefeated records. Because basically what you're looking at right now with your board, Frank, is that Ithaca has the opportunity to get 2 wins over top 25 teams in the next 3 weeks. Cortland, kind of the same thing, even though Brockport's on the not technically in the top 25, but they are on the board as far as a regionally ranked team is concerned. So this is an area where the East could catch up and knock off one of those those top 4, you could say, and create that sort of East region pod that we've seen these last couple seasons.
Okay, let's go back here now to, can they clinch a playoff spot in week 9? We're going to expand this in a second so that you can actually see it, but we just wanted to talk through a couple things that are on the screen. We have 9 conferences, and
it's
that's
like tic-tac-toe here, Frank.
Yes,
nice.
it's bingo. It's East Region Squares. Okay, I'll take it. FR8 for the win. There we go. So the things I want to talk about here before we dive in deeper, NESCAC and ECFC are special cases. ECFC, we don't talk about Dean in this. Dean could obviously win the conference, I believe, with a win and some help this week. I think they win either way based on who's left on their schedule, but that's irrelevant for the purposes of playoff slots because playoffs are determined underneath Dean. Dean is not eligible, as we have pointed out 18 different times this season on our show. The NESCAC is not a playoff eligible conference, but we will at least talk about what happens here. We're a little snarky, I guess, in the description, but here we go. Can they clinch a playoff spot? Starting in the CCC, the answer is no. Western New England and Endicott play each other, but we can't find a scenario where either one of them could clear the pack enough with 2 games to go to clinch. And so they will have a very good advantage, don't get me wrong, but they can't clinch, we don't believe. ECFC, the answer is yes, we believe, with SUNY Maritime winning and Alfred State losing. SUNY Maritime still plays Alfred State, but they are going to be separated enough, and SUNY Maritime's beating everybody below them at that point to clinch. Yep. So the SUNY Maritime win, Alfred State loss is a clinch, and Dean plays Alfred State, interestingly enough. Just remember that. MASCAC, the answer is no. Bridgewater State and Framingham State appear to have some import, but then Framingham State, with a couple games to go, we don't think they can clinch here effectively because there's so many tiebreaker potentials at 2 losses that could play out. But again, we're not 100% on this one, but we believe the answer is no. NewMac, the answer definitely is no because there's only 2 games in the conference. Springfield's not playing this week. So I think they said on ATN that they thought they could clinch, but Springfield not playing means that we can't get a clear clinch this week. MIT WPI game will be important again, and if you're MIT beating WPI, you'll make a 3-way tie at 1 loss basically if that happens. Empire 8, the answer is yes. There's a clear answer here. Cortland with a win versus Brockport. If Brockport wins, they will not clinch. They still have to play Alfred and still have 2 games in conference, and as such, they cannot clear the field fully at this point, but they would have a huge advantage again. Liberty League, the answer is yes. Winner of Ithaca Union, period. That's it. NJAC,
Yep.
no. Salisbury cannot clear the field enough with 2 games to go after this week. And since WNJ, TCNJ and Wesley play each other.
TC.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Western New Jersey, I guess we just converted them into TCNJ and Wesley play each other. They would both need to lose this week to give Salisbury the definitive yes, possibly. That can't happen since they're playing each other. So the answer is no. Salisbury cannot clearly clinch, we don't believe. Again, tiebreaker may throw something weird into that, but we don't believe so. Mac, we believe the answer is yes. Del Val with a win versus Alvernia, because we can't name a tiebreaker that Del Val loses. And remember, because of the wacky round robin scenario in the MAC, it's not always clear how and why it would work out certain ways. But we think from what we know that Del Val is clearly the winner of the MAC if they beat Alvernia this week with only 1 game to go. NESCAC, no, they cannot clinch a playoff spot because they don't have one. But the answer is yes, in terms of Middlebury. They would win the NESCAC with a win versus Hamilton this week. We'll put this up on Twitter so you get to see it a little bit more later. And feel free, if you see something wrong with this, to let us know. But again, the tiebreakers can be a little bit weird when it comes down to how this all plays out. And we've tried to, in about 10 minutes, put this together. We think we know what we're talking about, but that's usually a one-way ticket to being wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one thing we were right about, Frank, and we did have a question from one of our fans, Amy Cronin, who I think is a cousin or sister-in-law to Coach Ray over at Williams, lives down in Ithaca. She was saying, who won the poll on where Frank is going to go tomorrow? So, and I know this was like a record-breaking poll for In the Huddle, over 400 votes tallied, which is great response from the fans out there, and apparently. You may not be as hated by the union folks as you like to pretend sometimes. They seem to they love you, Frank. Come on.
I don't know about all that, but a 74% margin to 26%. And again, the enrollments are like 14,000 to 9,000 combined between the teams playing these games. But the teams representing the 9,000, the private schools, as we said, have beaten the state schools soundly, 74 to 26. So I will be on the sideline. Justin Lutz has already confirmed. I have a sideline pass waiting for me. That I should probably say that because somebody's going to come up and go to Will Call and probably say, "Hi, I'm Frank Rossi." But
yeah, right.
So don't get any ideas out there, guys. But I will be on the sideline for that game, bring you some Twitter video coverage. Obviously, Ithaca does a tremendous job on their video coverage already, so I'm not going to be able to add much besides highlights that you might want to see from a different angle. That's what I'll do. We're going to try to do some live stuff as well tomorrow, JB. What's your situation tomorrow? I haven't even asked you. You around tomorrow?
Yeah, I will be. I initially thought I might be on the road, but certain things kind of fell the way they are, and I'll be around. And I actually did reach out to some of the kids at ICTV to see if they wanted to, maybe even talk to you a little bit, either in the pregame or something. So we'll see whether or not they allow you to grace their broadcast with your presence.
Ben and Matthias, right? I think are the guys.
Yes.
Yeah. Who have, we've been following their stuff.
Yeah, they do a great job. It's probably one of the best broadcasts you'll see on for any D3, maybe even FCS level type of thing. I mean, the Park School of Communications at Ithaca is awesome, and so we're big fans. I'm looking forward to seeing it. It's really one of the most picturesque views of the stadium there overlooking the Cayuga Lake. Should be an awesome atmosphere with 2 teams that are coming in undefeated, nationally ranked. Definitely the game of the week. It should be great.
We have 50 seconds left on this show before we hit that 30-minute mark, which is magic number for us. So we're going to, exactly. Ben, Matthias, see you tomorrow. Union fans and Ithaca fans, see you tomorrow. If there was any way I could get to Cortland also, I would, because obviously Cortland and Brockport I am a big fan of as well in terms of their sports information guys, their coaches, their players, everybody.
Push your game back to 4.
Seriously, or 3 even, so I can get across town to get there. It really, I wish we could have that influence, because the coverage level I think is great to be able to provide these teams that. I have 15 seconds left to say, see you from Butterfield tomorrow in some way, shape, or form. We'll be live in some form, so stay tuned on Facebook and Twitter for that. Until then, have a great Friday, travel safely, and stay out of the bad weather.